Modern society has been conditioning us, making our decisions for us so we don't have to choose them for ourselves. Whether it be work, school, entertainment, or anything else, we have someone telling us what to do, what to consume, and while it makes sense in certain situations, over time, we slowly lose our ability to think and choose what to do for ourselves. We then fall asleep, become numb, and always expect someone else to tell us what to do. So much so that we forget how to make and weigh decisions for ourselves. But there is a cure to this ailment, and in this video we'll cover how decision-making is actually an art form, beyond a simple pros and cons list that you must master in order to live the life you truly want to live. So sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Welcome to the Mind's Thoughts. But before we fully explore how to make better decisions, an easy decision I make whenever I have the time is to read books. But I often don't have access to a physical book right then and there. That's where Audible comes in. With Audible, you have access to a treasure trove of knowledge and insights, all conveniently packaged in audiobook formats that fits within the palm of your hands, whether you're commuting, exercising, or unwinding at home. Audible offers a seamless listening experience with expertly narrated audiobooks that bring the words to life. And with a vast library spanning various genres and topics, there's something for everyone on Audible. And with the ability to listen across multiple devices, you can seamlessly pick up where you left off, whether you're on your phone, tablet, or computer. One of the easiest decisions I've made was to sign up for Audible. Ready to have the new Library of Alexandria at your fingertips? Sign up for Audible Premium Plus today, and as a special offer, you can enjoy 1 free month of Audible Premium Plus membership by using my link in the description. Don't let another day pass you by without investing in your own growth. And again, that's an entire month for free with my link down below. Now, back to the video. A decision is a sharp knife that cuts clean and straight. Indecision, a dull one, only hacks and tears and leaves ragged edges behind it. Gordon Graham. We all know about making a pros and cons list. That's decision-making 101. And you might ask yourself, well, as long as I have that been unset, what's the point in watching a video about decision-making? And you'd be right, except for the fatal flaw that a pros and cons list has, and that's the unbalanced nature of it all. Let me explain. Let's say a decision you've been anxious about has 10 pros and 5 cons. Then it's a no-brainer, right? Just go with the decision since there's twice as many pros as the cons. But what if one of the cons is something life-altering, something drastic? To be dramatic, let's say one of the cons means that you die. I know, a bit extreme, but this means that even though the decision has 10 pros in favor, that one con, being death, would outweigh all of the 10 pros, as I would hope. And that's the main issue with the pros and cons list. Each pro and con has their own weight to them. Some can matter more than others. So then how can we assign value to each pro or con? Well, we can try to number them based on how much of an impact they make on our lives, but how can we even do that to something like feelings, intuition, the impacts it's going to have on others, different levels of happiness, love, hardship, pain? You see what I mean? So while a pros and cons list is a good place to start to get clarity on the situation, it's not enough to concretely make decisions, much less the right ones. So where do we go next? Well, luckily for you, there's a number of ways to go from here. But first, let me explain something that can confuse a lot of people about indecision. Inaction does not equal indecision. Indecision is what we're trying to avoid. It means that we lack clarity on something, and that gives the opportunity for others to make our decisions for their own benefit. And if we're trying to get ahead and live the life we want to live, then indecision is almost like an antagonist to our lives. And a lot of people get stuck in the idea that indecision means that we're not taking action. And while this can be the case more often than not, inaction is also a choice. Inaction just so happens to be the default when we don't know what to do, so we do nothing at all. But, as with any choice, it can be both good or bad. It just depends on the situation. Like for example, and quick spoilers for Classroom of the Elite Season 3, skip to the time on screen if you don't want to watch. In Classroom of the Elite, Ayana Koji was the target of other students to get expelled from school by a voting system designed to expel those students from the class. Now, Ayana Koji understood why he was being targeted, by who, and what all of the moving parts were. He understood all of the information, and yet his main course of action was inaction, to not do anything. But this was deliberate, because other classmates came to him for help, and all Ayana Koji had to do was pull a few strings here and there to prevent another student, Ryuman, from getting expelled, and everything would fall into place. thus resulting in inaction being the best course of action to take. This is why I say indecision does not equal inaction. Those are two separate things where sometimes the best decision is to not act at all. And earlier, I mentioned that inaction is our default. But is it possible to make something else our default so we don't even have to think about it? And how do we do that? Well, that's where bright lines come into play. But what exactly are bright lines? In a nutshell, they're self-imposed rules or lines that you simply don't cross. Like for example, I get out of bed in 10 minutes or less. Why do I do this? So I can prevent myself from scrolling on my phone and to not waste any time in bed. Another example is, if for whatever reason I miss the gym on days that I want to and schedule myself to go, then I must go for at least 30 minutes during any free time that I have. And this is to maintain consistency and to maintain a healthy body and mind. Even though they're pretty straightforward, you'd want to make bright lines about things that are super important to you. And for something you know, you would need a bright line around. In order for Ayana to become as skilled in what he is, he would definitely use quite a few bright lines and quite a few less urgent, but still important, self-imposed rules to make the most out of his days to achieve the goals he wants. Now, while these bright lines are a great starting point for delegating certain decisions, as they become more of who you are rather than actual choices, there's a problem. We can't make bright lines for every single choice in our lives. It's unrealistic, and when everything is important, then nothing is. According to an article written by the Harvard Business Review, we make about 33,000 to 35,000 decisions every single day. And that includes things like what to say next in a conversation to what we eat, swear, and do throughout the day. Gerald Zaltman, a Harvard business professor, suggests that 95% of those choices happen in our subconscious mind or in the background as we go about the day, which is good for us, or else we'd be overwhelmed if we had to make over 30,000 decisions one by one. So while it's better to make certain decisions more consciously or rather more actively rather than letting our brain decide for us in the background, it gets overwhelming and then we get tired. This is known as decision fatigue or decision overload, which happens after we make many decisions throughout the day and our decision muscles get weaker and weaker, leading us to worse and worse choices. So then what's the answer? If we make too many active decisions, we get tired, which leads us to worse choices. But if we let decisions happen for us, then this leads us to doing without thinking, without a plan, which can lead to distractions, wasting our time, or other people making decisions for us, leading us further away from what we want. Well, you're in luck, because I have just the answer that has not only helped me create a channel and garner nearly 1,000 subscribers in 4 months with only 6 videos, but has also allowed me to be a self-employed business owner, allowing me to make all of my decisions for myself. And the answer to the decision-making problem that we all face are systems. Systems or formulas basically streamline chores or other tasks which require us to make decisions. Systems help us so that we don't spend that energy making monotonous decisions which we can then divert into somewhere else. For example, I do my finances on a weekly basis as that's how I'm paid. From figuring out where my money has gone to setting money aside for taxes and investments to figuring out that week's deductibles and updating my spreadsheets of expenses and my net worth, it's a lot of stuff to track. So if I were to decide every single action with no direction, then it would take me hours to get done. And that's valuable time I could spend working out, being with my family, hanging out with my friends, or putting more work in. So I devised a formula or routine with all of the steps that I need to do with my finances to avoid decision fatigue, thus making it more efficient as I just do the steps and I don't have to decide on what to do next as I've already written it out. And this is truly one of the best ways to reduce your decision overload. That's why people like Steve Jobs always dress the same, a straight-up cartoon character. Because if he always knew what he was going to wear, then he didn't have to think about it and could direct his attention towards his important work, clients, or business. Think of ways or areas of your life that you can do the same. And let's use fashion as an example. Let's say you like to dress up. Well, you can create fits and save them by taking a picture or by remembering what combinations work well together. And then you can just decide which one you're going to wear, rather than thinking of what pants, what shirts, what shoes individually, and thus saving time, effort, while still looking good in the process if that's something that interests you. Systems are something that Ayana uses without a doubt. In order to get as good at the things he's gotten, you would need some kind of formula, a strategy, and a game plan to execute all of those things in an intelligent and efficient manner. And systems can be used for anything, like programs when it comes to working out, recipes for cooking, practice routines for musicians. Even morning and night routines are systems to get us started for the day and for us to wind down. If you can think of any other area of your life you can create a system for, let me know in the comments, as it would be beneficial for everyone to get more and more ideas. All in all, creating systems allows us to do things we want and need to do without thinking, which actually reduces procrastination as well, since we just have to take action. This reduces our decision overload and fatigue so that we can focus our attention and our decision-making muscle onto more important things throughout the day. Self-imposed rules such as bright lines also make it easier for us to decide on certain choices, as they become who we are rather than actions we simply do. And what does this all lead up to? Clarity. Once we know what we're doing and where we're going, then we can go and attack this, so we can create the life we truly want and ultimately become eternal students. And as I have mentioned in my previous video that I'll reveal what my personality type is, well, after receiving a bunch of answers from you guys, here you go. So I first took the test 5 years ago, and I've been trying to retake it every 2-ish years to see if anything's changed. In 2019, my personality type was INFJ, or an assertive advocate. In 2022, my personality type changed slightly to an ENFJ, or an assertive protagonist. While my most recent test was 2 months ago, I'm now an ENTJ, or an assertive commander. If you guys want me to cover any of these personality types in detail, what they mean or how I've changed them, then let me know in the comments by commenting code down below. If you guys haven't taken the test yet, or if you're interested in Audible, both links can be found in the description. Odds are you're looking to change to become who you envision yourself to be, but a lot of people think that personalities can't be changed, and that simply isn't the case. Check out these videos to see how to change, because not only is it possible, but it's essential for becoming who you desire to be.